हेलो बच्चों। तो कैसे हो आप लोग? वीडियो देख रहे हो तो अच्छे ही होंगे। सो हियर अगेन, गुड इवनिंग ऑल। दिस इज अभिनंदन फ्रॉम iFutureTech, your training buddy for designing your future. Okay, so as we have studied in my previous videos about the Python, and in a previous video we have seen how do we start with the simple basic programs, and also we have seen some statements, comments, or docstring it is called as, why it is required, and all those things we have seen. So welcoming back to the yet another session or yet another training on Python. So let's move ahead and see what we have got today. Okay. So today we are going to see what is multi-line statements. So here, what you mean by basically multi-line statements, or before understanding the multi-line statements, well, understand what is statements. We have already studied in this previous sessions, but still we are going to revise this topic once again so that you will have a clear idea about the statements. So Python considers whatever you write it on a new line as a next statement or one statement on one line. So like that, if you give a colons or a semicolon or white spaces or new line, it will be considered as a statement in Python. So what if I have a really big list and which is not fitting up into one particular line? Then I'll just explain you this with the example so that you will have a clear idea about this. So I have already stored over here one example. I'll just remove this multi-line, actually it is called as a line continuation, and you can see that if I run this code, I'm going to get the error because whatever this I have written it over here, that is nothing but text is my variable, and whatever the string I have stored it over here, I am not completing the strings. Whereas this I have written it on a next line, so it will be considered as a statement, and I'm not storing that statement and any variable, or it has no particular meaning for the statement, and because of that, Python is throwing you an error. So, how to deal with this? That means if I have something like this, a bigger the statement or bigger string or a sentence or a bigger list of values which I want to add them with each other. So at that time, this line continuation will help me a lot to tell the Python interpreter that this line is not ending over here, and the further part of this line or further part of the statement is continuing on the next line. It is something like whenever I have a bigger word at the end of the notebook page, at that time I'll write the half word over there and write use a hyphen, and then the next remaining part of that particular word will be continued on to the next line. It is something similar to that. So you can use something like this for storing a bigger string, or even you can use it with your like mathematical expressions. For if I have some big list which continues on the next line also. Okay, so if I run this code now, you can see that this has been taken perfectly well as one particular string, as one particular statement. Okay, and here also, if I show you this, here I'm using a new line, sorry, line continuation. Here we are using a new line. Here I'm using a line continuation, which is continuing it. That print statement is continuing it on to the next line also. So this is regarding the strings, and also if we see the mathematical expressions that we have it over here, that is nothing but 50 plus, if I take it on a new line, 40 and 52 will be left out simply if I don't use a line continuation character over here. So line continuation helps me or helps interpreter to tell that the statement has not ended over here and it is continuing on to the next line as well. So if I run this code now, you can see that I have missed somewhere. So let me just check it where I have missed it. fine with this example, then now you can see that this line has been perfectly continued, and whatever the option or whatever the variable I was printing it using a print statement, that has been printed over here, as well as whatever the mathematical operations I was doing it over here while using line continuation, that also has got printed very well over here. So this is how you can use a line continuation. Okay, so this is one topic that we have seen it today, and the same thing, you have to remember one thing over here, that is nothing but if you are using something like list, tuples, or dictionaries, which will cover up in a further coming classes. At that time, you do not have to use a line continuation character, because the start and end of the brackets will indicate that the statement has not yet ended, even if it is going through all the lines, like 4 or 5 lines, then also it is not going to create any problem or create any issues, because we are using brackets over here. So bracket will indicate a start and end. So you need not to use a line continuation character over there. Okay, so I hope you are clear with this topic. So let's move to the next topic called as a quotations. We have already seen it this part while creating doc strings, but there we have used it this in a concept of multi-line comments. Here, I'll just tell you about how the Python helps you with the quotations. So Python accepts single line, double line, or triple line strings. That is nothing but even it allows you to use a single quote, double quote, or triple quote, which will be considered as string only. Okay, so let me tell you one key point over here. This is not a rule. This is not a rule, but uh, single quote will be used for one word, double quotes will be used for one sentence, and triple quotes will be used for one paragraph. So like this, the conventions are carried out by all the programmers. So you can also focus on this part. Okay, so let's move further and see how we can wait for the user input. It is something like using a scanf or cin function from C or C++ programming. Similar to that, Python provides you with uh, input function, which will be waiting for the user, and then we can apply this. Like we can simply wait for the user's input to hold the screen, as well as we can wait for the user to input something that we can store it in any of the variables, and that we can use it for our further operations. So let's see this concept, how this works over here. So I have already created one program over here, which let me show you. I have used a very simple for loop for printing 1 to 10 numbers. So let's see how it works without input. So how it is going to work is, you can see it over here. This is that program. If I double click on this program, you can observe that the screen, that is interpreter screen, will come and it will go. Of course, interpreter has ended up printing all the numbers which were there in a range. So once interpreter enters or encounters with the last statement, it is going to close the interpreter window. That is command line. So if I want to hold that window for some amount of a time, so what we can do is we can use this part, that is nothing but input, and in that you can give any message. Even if you don't give the message, it is going to work fine. Just to tell the user, I have used a string over here. That is nothing but one message I have used it over here. That is nothing but print enter to exit. So I'll just save this part and I'll go back and I'll run the same code once again. So you can see that now the Python interpreter will run the code and wait for the user input. As soon as I just click enter, it is going to close the window, because I have not handled it further. So how you can use it for storing a number or something like that, so that we will see over here. So you can see that I'll just use it something like name equal to, and I'll just say input. I'll write it over here, enter your name. Okay, so I'll be telling the user to enter the name. That name will be stored into a variable called as a name, and let's print this. Let's see whether it is storing the proper value or not. So I'll just print the name variable whatever I have stored it. Okay, so let's see how this code works. So I'll run it from here itself. So let me run this. So now it will print 1 to 10 numbers, as well as it is prompting me to enter my name. So let me enter my name over here. Okay, so I'll hit enter. Now you can see that it has printed my name over here. So this is another way to use the input. So next I'll show you one very important point over here, how it changes in case of numbers. Okay, so I'll just say let me copy this part. Okay, so let me change the variable name and let's say a, and I'll say input like enter your name, or I'll say enter first number, enter first number. Okay, so user will enter one number. Let's copy the same line over here again, and I'll say b, enter second number. Okay, second number. So user will enter two numbers. So let me do a addition operation on this. Print a plus b. Okay, so if I do this, let's see what answer I'm going to get. Okay, so I'll just save my code and I'll run this. Again the same thing. Now it is asking me to enter my name. I just enter it in short. Now it is asking me to enter the first number. Let me enter 1 and let me enter 6. So I have done the addition operation over there. As per the basic knowledge, we hope to get the output as 7. That is 1 plus 6 equal to 7. But let's see what answer I'm going to get over here when I hit enter. I'm getting answer 16, and it is not 16, it is 1 6, because you have to understand this part of a code over here. Whatever the user is entering through the command line prompt or through the interpreter is treated as string. Okay, so whenever I am entering anything from this command prompt or interpreter window, I am going to enter it or take it in as a strings itself. So let's handle this and see how we can change this part. So I need to do the typecasting. That is nothing but I need to change the type of the variable I'm going to take it in. So I'm going to write it as int. So whatever the variable user is going to enter, or whatever the number user is going to enter, that will be in the form of strings. And when I add two strings, that will be concatenated. Concatenation means joining one part of a string to another part of a string. So I don't want a concatenation, I want addition. So because of that, whatever the string part is there, that I need to convert it to integer. And because of that, I have typecasted this, and it will change the type from string to integer. We will see this in a further coming classes. Okay, I'll save this part and I'll run this. I'll just enter my name again over here and enter first number, enter second number. Now I can get the clear output, whatever the required output was there. Okay, so this is how you can take input from users. So I hope you are clear with this topic as well. So let's move to the further topic, which is multiple statements on a single line. And you might have seen, heard many memes saying that Python doesn't use semicolon. Tell them that they are wrong about the Python, because Python do use semicolon, and it will be used for multiple statements on a single line like this. So if I'm using a multiple statements which are very small, and rather than wasting a lines of a code, like for this I require, this is one statement, this is another statement, this is third statement. So for this I require three lines. So rather than that, I can make it short. My code will look short, and small statements I'll write it on a single line. So Python allows me with that also, where I'll be using a semicolon to tell the interpreter that this is one statement. After the semicolon, this is another statement, and after the semicolon, this is third statement. So like this, I can write a multiple statements on a single line. Okay. So this is an advantage what we have it in Python, and we can use semicolon over here. So next topic is multiple statements grouped as a switch. So whenever you are using any colon, that will be used for statements like if, or it will be used for functions, or it will be used for looping, like it might be the for loop or it might be the while loop. At that time we will see this once again, but understand that whatever I am writing it over here, this part of a code will be intended. So whenever I am intending, if one particular statement is there, that will be called as suit, and if the multiple statements following the same indentation are called as one suit. It is something like packing your luggage into one suitcase. That is multiple things you are packing up into one suit. So it is called as a suit. So this is multiple statements. We can group it as a suit. Okay, in statements, functions, loopings. Okay, now let's move further and we'll see what Python provides us. So it is like pressing the F2, that is getting a help from any of the softwares. So here from Python we can get a help using a command called as -h, that you have to use it with Python. So let's see how it is done over here. I have already stored, I have already seen these things over here. You can just see it over here. Okay, so I have written Python-h. So Python will give you what are the things or what are the options available in Python which you can use it. So if you want help, you can come and get it from here. So huge list, you can get it over here. Whatever the you are stuck with something, you can get it from help from this particular part. Okay, so I hope you are clear with this topic as well. So let's move further and let's see what are the different variable types. Okay, so variable, for time being, understand that it is just a label to hold one value. So it is something your mom does in the kitchen, like to store a sugar or a salt or a tea powder. She'll be using containers, and those containers will be labeled with something like sugar, tea powder, salt, and all those things. So those labels are called as a variables over here. So variables are just a labels to store a value. You can store any value over here, and as you know, Python do not explicitly mention the data type. Okay, so how the variables are defined, you can see it over here. So we have defined a counter, mile, name, okay, and the values. So directly no data types, directly a variable and a value, variable and a value, variable and a value. So depending upon the value whatever you are storing, Python interpreter will decide what type of a data it is. Okay, so you can store the variables like this. So let's move further and let's see how I can assign one single value to the multiple variables. So that also is possible over here. Now understand for a simple example, I want to store a value 10 three times. Like I need three variables over here, like A, B, C. A is storing a value 10, B is storing a value 10, C is storing a value 10. If I do this, what if what will happen is simply the lines will be wasted and the memory locations will be wasted. To do a better memory management, what we can do is we can use A equal to B equal to C equal to, and whatever the value. I have used 1 over here, and 10 or 10.5 or anything that you want, you can store it over here. So what will happen, this particular value will be assigned to C, C's value will be assigned to B, and B's value will be assigned to A. All the three variables or any number of variables you want, those will be having a same value. Okay, so this is one concept. Another concept is you can assign multiple values to multiple variables, like we have done it over here. A comma B comma C equal to 1 comma 2 comma John. So basically A will hold the value 1, B will hold the value 2, and C will hold the value John. So to store the lines or to like reduce the line of a code, we can use this trick as well. Okay, so let's move further and see the next part, that is nothing but standard data type. So like whatever the data are there, those will be stored into your memories, and data is of multiple types and what type of a data we have it, or what type of data Python handles is discussed over here. Basically, Python provides you with the five standard data types, and those are nothing but numbers, strings, lists, tuples, dictionaries. One more thing is there, that is nothing but set, that is derived thing is there, that we will discuss it as and when we go further. So today let's discuss about the numbers and what are these things. Already we have seen it in this case that how the numbers have been stored into the variables. Similarly, you can see that whatever the variable name is there, that variable name equal to whatever the value is there, that value you can store it over here. Integer value. Okay. As well, Python provides you with a statement that is del, which will be used to delete the assigned variable. You can delete a single variable or you can delete a multiple variables at a time. It will be again helpful for the memory management. Like once the memory has been allocated, simply just you can use it for free up the memory. That delete statement can be helpful here. So Python provides you with a del statement, that is delete statement, okay, with numbers. And Python supports four different types of numerical data. That is nothing but it supports integer, long, float, and complex. Integer is simple number, long is longer integers, and then float is fractional point, and complex will be having a real and imaginary part. So here you can see a different examples of integers, long, float, and complex. One thing you can observe over here, the long variables or long numbers are denoted or defined using a L at the end. L at the end, which tells the Python interpreter that this is a long integer. But you can see one thing over here. If you see this part, that here you can see it is 7390, and human eyes may get confused with this is as 1 because small l and 1 looks similar. So there is a rule, not rule, because Python interpreter will be very much differentiating between the L and 1. So there is no confusion for the interpreter, but to avoid the confusion at the human side, we can avoid using 1 or small l to avoid the confusion over here. We can avoid using small l. Rather than that, we will have a practice of writing a capital L only to denote the long integer. Okay, just to avoid the confusions. And the next part is nothing but your complex numbers. Complex numbers will be in the form of real part and the imaginary part. You can see it over here, x plus yj, where x and y are the real numbers and j is your imaginary part. So like this, Python supports you with the number, and the further like data types are there, that is nothing but strings, list, tuples, dictionaries, that we will see it in a further coming classes. Okay, so it was nice to have you all over here. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe. Okay, and we'll be happily coding together. Happy coding, everyone. Bye bye.